Have you ever wondered why someone can talk to you every day and then vanish without explanation? Most people think it means they never cared, but psychology says something completely different. And once you understand this, you'll never look at ghosting the same way again. People assume ghosting means coldness, cruelty, or a lack of interest. But that assumption misses the deeper reality. Because what looks like indifference from the outside is often a psychological pattern rooted in fear, overwhelm, and emotional avoidance, not the absence of feelings. Here's what's actually happening inside the mind of someone who ghosts. 1. Emotional overload. They pull back suddenly, and most people assume it means they lost interest. But psychology calls this affective flooding, when emotions hit too intensely for the person to process. They disappear not because they don't care, but because their system is overwhelmed and avoids anything that feels too fast or too real. 2. Avoidant wiring. They stop replying, and people think it's because they're heartless. Psychology links this to avoidant attachment, where closeness triggers discomfort rather than safety. Their vanishing act reveals someone who learned early on that distance feels safer than vulnerability. 3. Conflict aversion. They go silent instead of talking about an issue. This reflects conflict avoidant conditioning, where confrontation feels threatening, not corrective. It shows they equate honesty with danger, and disappearing becomes their default escape route. 4. Fear of disappointing you. They vanish right when things get serious, and you think it means they don't care. Psychology ties this to rejection sensitivity, where the fear of letting you down becomes bigger than the desire to stay. They don't disappear because they don't value you. They disappear because they think you'll eventually see them as not enough. But here's where it gets deeper. 5. Cognitive dissonance. They act warm one day and distant the next. This behavior often comes from cognitive dissonance, holding two conflicting desires at once: connection and independence. Ghosting becomes their way of protecting the part of themselves that fears being consumed by someone else's expectations. 6. Power preservation. They pull away just when you start expecting consistency. This connects to psychological reactance, the instinctive pushback when they feel their autonomy threatened. Their silence is less about you and more about preserving the illusion of control. 7. Identity protection. They leave without explanation, so you never see their flaws. Psychology calls this a self-protective bias, where disappearing keeps them from being fully known, and therefore fully judged. It reveals a person who fears exposure far more than loneliness. This next part is what most people never notice. Psychologists also talk about something called emotional avoidance conditioning, the idea that over time, people learn to retreat from difficult emotions instead of confronting them. Those who ghost often score higher in emotional reactivity and tend to develop stronger avoidance patterns than they realize. They're not trying to hurt others. They're trying to protect a nervous system that was never taught how to cope. So no, ghosting doesn't mean you're unworthy, forgettable, or easy to leave. In reality, it means you encountered someone who struggles with emotional processing, with vulnerability, with internal conflict. Someone whose mind shuts down the moment things feel too real. What others see as coldness is often fear in disguise. If you've ever been ghosted, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their emotional limits. And the more you understand these patterns, the easier it becomes to protect your peace, choose healthier relationships, and create boundaries that honor your emotional intelligence. If you want to understand the hidden psychology behind why people behave the way they do, subscribe. Because here, we don't just watch people, we decode them.